On the 6th of May, London will be electing its new mayor. Do you know where to vote? Do you know who you're voting for? Do you know what you want to happen in your great city, London? Nims Obunge is here with me, and he's going to tell you what we're going to be talking about to help you make up your mind. So Nims, what are we going to be talking about?
Well, Sunita, I want us to talk about safer streets, making sure our city is safe for everybody. I want us to talk about young people because I believe they're not just the future. I believe they're the present. I think we've got to talk about their future and making sure that we build a city that actually is welcoming. I want us to talk about COVID and the impact it's had on us, but how do we move forward from a city that's been impacted by COVID? Let's talk about Brexit and the future of London in a post-Brexit economy. I want us to talk about climate change and carbon emissions and how we ensure that this city is doing what it needs to do and continues to do what it needs to do. I think it's so important we talk about housing and homelessness and making sure that, again, at the same time, no matter what your socioeconomic background is, we provide a city that provides prosperity for all. And that brings us to the economy. We are a thriving economy, and we've got to make sure, no matter how difficult things may have been, we build for the future of London. London is an amazing city. And I think that as we start talking about mental health, mental well-being, we just talk about the well-being of our city and how we together can become this great city that is moving forward together to just change the history and do something totally different from what Sadiq Khan was doing. It's about time we take London forward.
So you'll be the first Black mayor of London. Who are you talking to? Who are you addressing?
Well, Londoners, this is us. And that's who we are. We're black, white, brown. We're from all parts of the world. And we build bridges together. We don't build walls. We don't divide ourselves. We unite ourselves because we can do this together. And that's why I'm running as an independent mayor. I'm not trying to be conservative, Labour, Lib Dem, Green Party. I want us to be that city that brings everybody together. And we thrive. We don't just survive. We thrive because we believe in ourselves. And we believe in our corporate humanity and our shared humanity. Together as Londoners, we can win. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next few weeks as we talk about the issues of London. But on the 6th of May, as you get to the ballot box and you tick that box that says Nims, I'll be your mayor, the people's mayor.
So tomorrow's your last chance. Make sure you vote for your next London mayor. Welcome to PodTails. Today we're going to be discussing mental health with Nims Obunge, who's running to be the first Black mayor of London. There's been a significant increase in suicide in the UK. The first time since 2013. This appears to be driven by an increase in the male suicide rate. In the UK, suicide rates among young people has been increasing in recent years. Young females are now at their highest on record for suicide, according to the Samaritans in 2018. Nims, I mean, since 2018, the suicide rates have been rising anyway. How much more so now with the pandemic, isolation, people dying before their time?
And what we've got to start doing as Londoners is try to build our mental well-being and start building a city again that can have a multi-agency response unit to mental trauma. And I think some of a triage unit across all our communities that allows triage so that the early interventions where you can walk and get quickly assessed before the young people fall through the cracks, because many people are missing out on the opportunities to get mental health intervention and support because of the stigma that comes along around mental health, and people are not willing to admit that they have one form of mental health or the other. I'm reminded of a very dear friend of mine, someone who was really close, who unfortunately lost his life through mental health, and he committed suicide. I won't go into the details because it was quite traumatic. And I remember having to say to his children that just like people can have a heart attack, he had a head attack.
Wow.
You know, and we feel that it's okay to talk about physical illness, but we don't talk about mental illness. And we feel in some communities that this is something that we would rather not address. I believe that we need to be addressing this robustly. And as Mayor of London, I'd want to see that we look at how we ensure that we are a city that recognizes the trauma that mental well-being brings to families, and have a supportive framework where you don't feel stigmatized for having whether it's depression, anxiety attacks, or post-traumatic syndromes, whatever it is. We just have to start supporting Londoners in this season.
Yeah, I think, they say that London is the loneliest city in the world. So you just take that and then add everything else that we've had to endure for the last couple of years as well to it. And just people's overall, just the fear of not knowing. I think the fear of not knowing, Brexit, what does it mean? Should I have voted in? Should I have voted out? What's going to happen to our businesses? Will I be able to afford to still live in London? There's so many things to worry about.
We've got to do a lot more about building that cohesion in our society. I would want to be a mayor that allows neighborliness become a big thing, and we start, celebrating London. And
like when you have the London Marathon. I did the marathon. I mean, I was terrible, but I finished it. But the thing that touched me the most was the people, the children, the families on the street, encouraging us, giving us opal fruits and bottles of water, and just come on, and I was in the whole head thing, so you couldn't, it wasn't about it being me there, I wasn't recognizable actually, but the spirit of encouragement.
Absolutely.
And I feel like, like you said, that's what we want to have.
It's what London needs. You talked about the London Marathon. We used to have the London Peace Runs. And within the peace runs, we get children and families.
Is that one of your initiatives?
The London Peace Run is one of our initiatives.
Has so many initiatives.
And we had Christian Horrock, with the 400 meters Olympic champion, giving medals at the very end to everybody, no matter, whatever positions. It wasn't about positions. It was just about bringing our city together.
Participate, take part.
Absolutely. And children loving it, getting a special medal from the Olympic champion, and being able to be part of something that brought us together. I think we need a lot of things that bring us together.
Yeah.
Post-COVID, that is my drive. I don't want to be caught up sitting in ivory towers like many politicians often do. I don't want to be knocking on doors just trying to canvass for votes. I want to be actually out where the people are and make sure that we're doing this,
not
actively
talking
involved
about
in their
it,
lives.
doing it. And you have so many initiatives that can just be reactivated or continued.
Absolutely.
But with the funding and the media and everyone behind it, so everyone's aware of it, that it's not just in these communities, that it's literally all the way across London. Because we do need that. Social media, so many kids are just disconnected. Like you said, everyone lives for themselves. Everyone is afraid to show what is wrong, because we are a culture that has this sort of fake social media presence, right?
We wear a
so
mask.
it's, me drinking this drink, wearing these clothes in this fabulous place, when actually you could be absolutely broken.
In our organization, we have something we call the listening service, and I want to see a lot more of that, where you get beyond the facade.
Yes.
Because we've got to get beyond the facade. I know London's an amazing city, but London is also a city that's bleeding. And we're losing our lives of young people just in a ridiculous way. And, you talked about the suicide rates. It's still a significant challenge in London. I remember going to the City of London cemetery and crematorium, and we were burying a young man who was actually the third person who had been killed, the third brother killed in the same family. Now, you can imagine the mental trauma for that family and the support structures we've had to try as best as possible to give that family. But I was speaking to the manager on that in the cemetery. He said there are so many communities. He said just like the Black community has been greatly impacted by violent crime. He said within the Caucasian community, there's so many families that are coming to bury their young ones who have committed suicide. And so this is something, and he said there's a great need here in London, but the media may not pick up on it, but the suicide rates were going up. And I want to see a London where we're not having to bury kids who are killed on our streets, nor young people who are committing suicide from any community. We've got to start doing better. And we've got to start working on those issues and seeing what's going on with our mental well-being and where we're failing as a city. And the other thing I think is important when we talk about mental health and mental well-being is the impact drugs have on mental well-being, and we need to have another conversation with Londoners and see. I've been speaking to medical practitioners who feel that there are significant drugs that are impacting some of our young people and other families. Let's have a conversation as to what we can do better to save those lives, save the mental health of our city. We've got to have a campaign. And when I'm mayor, I will focus on that. We've got to save those young lives. I remember after the Christchurch killings in New Zealand, I was invited by students across universities in London, but then they held it at the Queen Mary University. And I looked at London at its best, and there were Muslims and other young people from all over London. And I should send you that video there.
Yeah, I'd love to see.
It was a great conversation with Londoners. And I said, there's something about our shared and our common humanity that we all need to treasure. And we've got to work together to protect that. And we locked arm in arm and said, together we will win. And that's the message to Londoners, that let's lock our arms together. Let's see how we can stand side by side with each other. Let's not allow politics divide us. Let's not allow poverty divide us. Let's not allow even our sense of prosperity divide us. Let's not allow mental health divide us. Let's not allow image of another community divide us, irrespective of our cultural backgrounds. Let's come together. Let's imagine a London where we move together. We move together forward to make London the great city that we are. We can do this together. And that's our vision within our campaign, our Hope 2021 campaign, moving London forward together. We've got to do this. And the only way we can do this is when we believe that we can do this as one people.
Amazing, amazing. I've been thinking, where is our leader, particularly for the Black communities? Like, where is our Farrakhan? Where is our Martin Luther? And what I love about it is that even as the first Black mayor of London, that it's not just about the Black people. It's about London. It's about London, that London is the people. And actually, you being mayor is not you saving the city, it's you helping us to save our city.
Well, that's it. I think and this is the message to Londoners, we do this together. I don't believe that we should be denied prospering mentally, emotionally, and financially. We shouldn't be denied that by the color of our skin or by the socioeconomic background we have. We've got to look at how we can do this as a city, as Londoners. And so what we want to do is, this is why we're doing this, that we want to reach out to many Londoners, all Londoners, and say, this is your city. This is our city. Let's win our city together.
So if a handful of us, when I say a handful, if we get behind this, we can actually make a difference. We have to think of this as our home. And I think whether you are the most affluent, powerful, or whether you're the most poverty-stricken, together we can do something. If we think of London as our home, one big home that we all live in, and us all fixing the roof, fixing the drain, doing the wiring, doing the plumbing, that we all need to do our bit to rebuild the city. And you being like the, what do you call the person who, not the overseer, the project manager?
I'm a facilitator. I'm a facilitator of a dream that we all share in London. And that's what the mayor is. I think we're here to share a dream together, but I intend to hire the best, the brightest, and making sure that irrespective of your political divide, you are part of that dream that makes London work, and you're part of that dream that makes London begin to thrive. We can move this forward. Don't doubt the opportunity we have, and don't think that because I'm an independent candidate, we can't win together. You know what? London is not built by partisan politics. London is built by Londoners, you and me, and we'll make this work.
I'm getting convinced. How about you? Let's talk some more. That's Nims Obunge, who's running to be the first Black mayor of London.